end of the week, and technically, it's the end of the month of August, and it's the start of the Labor Day weekend, and for all intents and purposes, it is the end of summer as we know it. Good afternoon, and welcome back to the 10 Commandments of Leadership. I am your host, Tim Alston, and I think I've got a kind of a special episode for you today. I'm a leadership strategist. I'm a four-time Amazon best-selling author, and I'm also a egoholic. Recovering egoholic. And today's episode is entitled, It's Deja Vu All Over Again. It's deja vu all over again. Today, I want to take you into a phrase that was made famous by a baseball legend, but one that's playing out in America's leadership right now. It's deja vu all over again. Yogi Berra, Hall of Fame catcher for the New York Yankees, was known as much for his paradoxical one-liners as he was for his 10, count them, 10 World Series championship rings. Yogi Berra. And of all of his what we call yogi-isms, all those paradoxical phrases, none fits today better than this one. It's deja vu all over again. Deja vu all over again. What he meant was simple. Sometimes history doesn't just repeat, it doubles down. And that's what we're seeing right now. Flashback to the year 2020. Remember back in 2020? Some of us don't really want to remember. During the early days of COVID-19, then President Donald Trump downplayed the pandemic, ignored the expert warnings, and refused to provide steady leadership. Well, as you recall, into that leadership vacuum stepped 5 Democratic governors. Andrew Cuomo of New York, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, Gavin Newsom of California, Jay Inslee of Washington State, and Kate Brown of Oregon. And surprisingly, they were joined by one Republican, Maryland's Larry Hogan, who at the time chaired the National Governors Association. These leaders didn't wait for federal direction with respect to COVID-19. They acted. They stood in the gap. They demonstrated what I call silver metal leadership. What is silver metal leadership? Silver metal leaders, or SMLs as I call them, are those number 2 leaders, those deputies, the assistants, the vice presidents, and in this case, the governors. They aren't at the very top of their organizational chart, but when number 1 leaders fail or fall silent, it's the silver medal leaders who rise to the top. They show that true number oneness is achieved by embracing your number 2-ness. They show true number oneness is achieved by embracing your number 2-ness. Strength doesn't just come from the top, it comes from the middle. Now let's fast forward to today, 2025. Now, here we are again. Trump is once more threatening states, this time with ICE raids and even military interventions in blue states, and blue cities. And just like in 2020, governors are pushing back. Only this time, it's not just 5 or 6 voices of the governors. At this time of this broadcast, it's actually 19. 19 Democratic governors, led by veterans like Gavin Newsom and joined by newer leaders like Illinois' J.B. Pritzker and Maryland's Wes Moore, are saying no, no, no to Trump. They're warning Trump not to send troops into their states. They're protecting their people, their sovereignty, and their communities. That's not just politics. That's leadership. That's silver metal leadership. Again, that's not just politics. That's leadership. That's silver metal leadership. Why does this matter? This moment shows us something very, very powerful. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about timing. Not about titles, but about timing. You see, back in 2020, 5 governors stood up. Now it's 19. That's exponential growth in courage, coordination, and conviction. Exponential growth in courage, coordination, and conviction. And here's the leadership takeaway that I want you to get this afternoon. Don't underestimate the strength of leaders who are in the second tier. Any leaders in the second tier. Don't overlook the power, for example, of the governors, deputies, assistants who step up when others step back. And don't forget that the middle is often where the real leadership happens. Trump's deja vu mistake? If Trump repeats his 2020 mistake, that of ignoring, belittling, or battling governors, then history will repeat itself. Or, as Yogi Berra might have said, it's deja vu all over again. Because you can't strong arm states into submission. You can't bulldoze second-tier leaders who are standing up for their first-tier needs of their citizens. And if Trump doesn't realize that, once again, he's going to lose this battle too. So today, as we watch this story unfolding, remember this. When number one leaders falter, it's the silver medal leaders who hold the line. When number one leaders falter, it's the number 2 leaders that hold the line. Silver medal leaders show us that you don't need to be at the top to make a difference. Let me say that again. Silver medal leaders show us that you don't have to be at the top to make a difference. You only need courage, clarity, and conviction. Courage, clarity, and conviction. 3 things in short supply at the highest levels, obviously, but in abundant supply among these governors. Yogi Berra gave us the words. History gives us the warning, and silver medal leaders give us the way forward. I'm Tim Alston, your leadership strategist, your 4-time Amazon best-selling author, and your recovering egoholic. Thanks for listening to the 10 Commandments of Leadership. And always, always lead with silver, not just with gold. Lead with silver, not just with gold. I hope that what I've shared with you has been topical, has been meaningful, and that you can see yourself in this scenario. There are, excuse me, please. There are more of us who are silver medal leaders than gold at the top. Think of it like an iceberg. An iceberg, the tip of the iceberg is just 10% above the surface of the water. But it's the silver, excuse me again, but it's those of us who are the silver medal leaders who make up that 90% that is below the surface, below the radar. We're the ones that make sure the trains run on schedule. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy this Labor Day. Enjoy these last few days of the month of August. Next time we see each other, it's going to be September. It's going to be that month where we go from summer into fall. Hallelujah. And the weather starts to change and become more seasonable, less insufferably hot. God bless you. Have a good weekend. And I'll see you in September. Bye-bye.